Here we are. This is Awesome Talk, and we are here with Stern Rockwell, who runs the biggest online graffiti museum in the world, called The Streets Are Saying Things. And yeah, so we're here to learn a little bit more about that, and
hang out,
and have a beer. Well, I think it's too early. Too early where you are to have a beer, right?
No, it's never. I'm still in New York time, so it's always good to have a beer.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So, doesn't matter what time it is.
Listen, we're good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm over in Hong Kong. It's up, and hello to everybody on your show. Hello to you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about what The Streets Are Saying Things is? Like, for people who are tuning in for the first time, hearing about it for the first time, give a little bit of background and talk about that.
Well, The Streets Are Saying Things, I started this website it really started in 2000. It started it really, really raw. So it was like using HTML. I mean, this is like before there was Facebook and all these sites that you can preset and cut up. So I had to really, just learn the trade, and it was basically from scratch and learning how to upload sites and do all this other stuff. So to me, it was like a whole learning experience, and basically the site took off, and it was just what I wanted to do was place pictures. I saw a lot of stuff that was being put on the internet for graffiti, but it was always like the same 3 or 4 people that, the media always would contact, and most of the people weren't even doing graffiti anymore. They moved on and were doing art and galleries and shows. So I wanted to really, put pictures of stuff that was really running on trains, stuff that was really happening, past, present, and some of it was even future. So I think even the whole idea of doing a website on graffiti at that time and having people interact and watching people catch up with other people that they haven't even spoke to in so many years, it was really like a Facebook of the time, and I've been upkeeping it, and kind of now went into another platform, which is more street art. Mm-hmm. And I've also changed platforms as far as the software that I use. So yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for almost 14 years.
What drew you to the graffiti? Like, what made you think the world needs to see this? Why was that your interest? How did you get involved?
Well, it's funny because it's just I felt that. I mean, I used to do this. I used to do graffiti, used to write on the trains and so on and so forth in the late 70s, 80s, and kept on doing a little bit to the late 80s. But I was always into the art form and always attracted to it. It wasn't something like I chose. It's kind of like it chose me. And it's kind of the same thing what happened with the website. It was just I was seeing media. And media was just in its infant stage, really. The internet was in its infant stage when I started doing these, the website. And the media that I saw, the social media that did talk about graffiti, it was just always wrong. So I kind of wanted to just do a website that kind of just set things right. It set the real attitude and the real mood of what was going on in the streets with graffiti and art. So that's kind of the reason why I started.
I've noticed over the years that graffiti has kind of taken a new position in the art world, where I think like people look at it and they think vandalism only. They don't think art. And now you're seeing graffiti artists are getting like commissioned to do work and things like that. I mean, am I accurate about that evolution?
I guess the simplest way I could say is that if you look at almost every brand, anyone that's really marketing to, the teenager to the 30-something. I mean, graffiti is really now appealing to a 40-something.
Yeah.
I mean, people that were doing graffiti, my age, are in 40 somewhat and 50 some people. So that demographic is really broad. And so the thing is, the demographic of the people that really are attracted to that art. I mean, that's what you see on MTV. That's what you see on the VH1. The graphics and everything that you see pertaining to attracting or getting that demographic it's basically stylized in some form of graffiti. People being commissioned that was something people really were doing a long time ago, but now it's more it's more of a performance art. It's become it's evolved into so many different forms that it's no longer a letter form. It's just an art form.
The way that graffiti is looked at, like, you know, like he said, the evolution of it going from being seen as vandalism more to its own art form. Do you see that changing worldwide?
I think even before the internet, you have there's a big influx of different countries. Like Europe was always fascinated. Europe later became fascinated with the graffiti culture, and Europe took off with it. But that's even before the internet was really, up and running. Again, it was in its infant stage. So when Europe really embraced it, I think that's really worldwide. But as far as traveling and seeing and being and participating in certain things, definitely different outlooks and different views in every country that I've visited and been. But there's definitely a big resistance in the United States against the art form. You have people that have a view of it as ugly, and some places welcome it like 1,000%. I'd say Europe is pretty welcoming. They could kind of embrace it. And even places like Montreal very much, long time ago, Montreal was a place that embraced it. Like you could walk almost every corner and you see something beautiful, really, really nice work. People like Stair and there's so many people in Montreal that were just Zek. These guys are doing some beautiful things out there, legally and illegally, but it's very much embraced by the culture. Again, like I think art in general it's changed and changing in the United States, but art was never really something that was embraced by Americans.
No.
Now, I think the internet helped that a lot.
I think it's suppressed by Americans, if anything.
And I think it's
art was like poop though.
I think the only thing that's changed is that I think that art is almost scary to Americans now. The same way that education is.
Yeah, well, I have this argument that I make where I say that when it comes to art and culture, the 1960s really showed what art and culture can really do to move a nation. And I feel like the powers that be are very, very fucking aware that art and culture, they should fear art and culture more than they should fear almost anything else, because that's what moves people. And I think that's why we have this junk food, like pop music being shoved down our throat all the time and shit like that, because they don't want people thinking here. That's a problem when that happens.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, there's definitely there's a lot of validity to what you just said. But again, because art reflects life. So if you can look at actual paintings that were done, from the caves all the way to the Renaissance, if you're looking at actually these moments that are recorded in time before there was cameras, and you're looking at these sculptures and these pieces of paintings, and they're just gorgeous, or they just mark a moment in history, and you can't deny that history once it's been recorded and it's documented.
Right.
You can't erase it. So it put a whole nother perspective of what, who was doing what in what times.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best history. Like this history that I got in the public school system was just completely bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all lies.
Yeah.
Completely bullshit.
When you talk, you not separate, but you say graffiti and street art. Could you talk about what the difference? Could you talk about what you mean when you say that? Why you use those two terms separately?
Yeah, because I believe that there are people who do. I mean, graffiti to me, it's a gray word. But the reason I use the terms graffiti and street art, and other people do, is because there are a lot of people who just they paint what they feel. They're artists, illustrators, they're graphic designers who now go to the walls and do. They use the same medium, spray paint, and they'll use stencils and they'll even use brushes now.
Yeah.
And the thing is that people now that from the time when I started, graffiti was a letter form. you wrote your name, I'd say Stern, and you put it on the wall, and that was graffiti, and that is graffiti. If you're doing it illegally, if you're doing it legal, to me, putting your name on the wall, graffiti. If you're using your name, if you're doing, it's a tricky thing. If you're putting a stencil of, a balloon. I mean, if you're putting a balloon on the wall illegally, and you're going around stenciling a balloon, it's still graffiti, because it's illegal and it's on somebody's wall if you're not doing it legal. But if you're doing it legal and you're putting a balloon, that's graffiti. That's street art. If you're doing your name and you're doing it legally, I still kind of think that's more of a form of street art. I don't really believe that. I really think graffiti is really, in its true form, the act of vandalism. I think that. I think that the term is carried over into legal. There's a line between legal and the illegal. So I would have to say that graffiti to me is illegal, and that the letter form comes from graffiti.
Yeah.
And so, but if you're doing letter forms on the wall and you're doing it legally and you're getting permission, I would say that's art. Street art. Art itself it's that art reflects, it reflects life. It's a reflection of each other's. So it's like, again, if it's being done on the walls of any city that you're in, that's the community. It is a voice of the community. So if you see graffiti popping up in your neighborhood, hey, there's somebody in your community that's really feeling that, and your community's about to change.
I've always understood that graffiti is. I want to use the word, it's a win when you tag something and people see it. If it's out in the public eye and people see it, it's like a win, okay? And one of the things that I heard was the hardest thing to tag in the world are subway trains, because there's always people down there. People are always watching. They're hard to get to. They don't stay in one place for too long. So about 8 years ago in New York, there were like 6 trains that got tagged, completely from one end to the other, and they wouldn't run them. The MTA or whoever wouldn't run the trains unless they got cleaned off first. And they ended up on the cover of the New York Post. So the question is, did those graffiti artists achieve what they wanted to achieve? Even though the trains didn't run in public where you could see them, they made it to the cover of the New York Times. Is that
what do you think?
I think it's a win. I think it's a win.
That last night.
Yeah,
it's an absolute win.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Absolute win. These are the things that inspire other people, to do these things. I know there would be a lot of people that would throw an apple at their computer if they see me saying some of these things, but it's just absolutely true that these things influence a lot of people. If you can get first of all, it takes a lot of effort to get into the subway system and to get that work up on the train, and it takes a lot of risk to do all that. And of course, it's illegal. And then for it to not run, that is the New York Transit way. They will not run something because they do not want to encourage other kids to do this.
Right.
So the fact that it makes a newspaper, it's a win. The kids get to see it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the whole reason for most kids who do graffiti is to get fame. So, the whole fame aspect of it is, if you can get a tag in the background of, any film that's filmed in New York or in your neighborhood, and that's like, whoa, you made it.
That's cool.
So it encourages, a lot of people to say, hey, I want my name in a movie.
Sure.
I want my name in a paper. So that's the way it is. It's a fact, and in some ways, it's a sad fact when you look at, the other things that the media encourages, the illegal acts that go on, and they encourage it. Just over here in China, there was a couple of kids who went on a knife spree and ended up killing
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
just
we
read about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like China right away is like, you know, we don't want this to get out, you know, but it gets out. The media gets it. That's it. The thing is, there's always going to be copycats. So, you know, if kids see their work in the media, it's a win. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to be doing whatever it is you're going to be doing. It's a win if you make it to the media.
Can we all hold on?
I mean, one more thing.
Sure.
There's no such thing as bad press.
Agreed. There's some pieces that stand the test of time that, you know, I'm not sure how I'm trying to ask it, but
I think you're trying to ask if there's any legendary.
yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to ask. Like,
Sure there is. I mean, if something, what we call it, runs, meaning it lasts. If something runs for, you know, decades and still, you know, it's a piece of history. So if a tag is on the wall for 10 years, that's like, hey, that's awesome. That was there in, you know, 1990. It's now 2000. Wow, that's 2014. 20 years ago. I mean, that's a long time something runs. So that's a piece of history that does stand. It stands on its own in the sense of how long it lasts, and at the same time, it's something that somebody or some kid has been walking by, and, you know, for 10, 20 years, he walks by a piece that's been on the wall 10, 20 years. That's one kid, but there's more than one kid that walks by that. So to a group of kids, it's like, wow, that's like an important piece. I mean, I've had some people look at one of my pieces that I did in Park Slope, and it was I did it in 1990. It ran for over 10 years.
wow.
And then when they finally buffed it, I mean, it's when I put up one of the pictures of the piece that I did, people were like, "Yo, I remember that as a kid," you know, and I think that's, you know, it's not to say, hey, I'm historic or legendary. It's just to say that it's, you know, it's nice that there is a community out there that respects it and looks at it and actually documents it
And remembers you. Remembers
yeah,
you
they
and associates
remember it.
Yeah.
Remember the time. I mean, it's like any other. It's a muse, like anything. Like, you know, like music. You know, art is the same. To have something that you saw, you know, in a specific time in your life, and to see it again brings back memories.
When you started Streets Are Saying Things, was there any point where you got sort of angry responses, like maybe from people that didn't want you to proliferate this in their community or encourage it?
I'm going to be, you know, 100% honest, you know, and candid. There are people who police it. There were a lot of people from the police department that would be on the site. There was a lot of Vandal Squad. Vandal Squad was on there commenting, and they were talking directly to the graffiti writers. You know, they were saying, hey, keep taking pictures. You know, can't wait to catch you for this one. And the writer would be right underneath, like, yeah, you know, do your thing, man. You know, try and catch me if you can, and go back and forth on it. Yeah.
You know, I saw this documentary a few years ago. This guy gets commissioned to do art out of ice. So he goes to these Arctic areas, and he makes like ice sculptures out of snow, but stuff he pulls out of nature. He's not like crafting it with a block of ice and a chainsaw, you know. And the idea was that it's going to be beautiful in the moment, and then it's going to melt and be gone. And I wonder if graffiti artists have the same idea. Hey, look, I'm going to do this. It's going to be awesome in the moment, and then just let it go. Let it live or let die. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, right now there's like a whole street art movement going on in New York City, and there's a wall on Houston Street that a lot of they have a lot of people from out of town and some local people that paint, and they do it. I don't know. I see it every couple of months. They change this wall. And they had some street artists, you know, ones that aren't, they don't do graffiti, they do street art. So they do shapes and abstract and colors, expressions, and they do different things. So it's one artist had come and started doing their mural, and before they even got to finish the mural, a graffiti artist came and they put some bubbles over it. The artist didn't even get to finish. But that's the game. Like, for me, that's the game. It's just that, you know, if I'm going to go out there and publicly put something up, the whole idea is to finish it as quick as you can. You know, some people take weeks to do something, which, you know, then it's open game for somebody to come along and add something to it, but that's the game. You know, once you put it up, you know, people can go cross it out, put something over it, or they can just go over it with something else. I mean, but the thing is, yeah, you do something, it's phenomenal. If people respect it, they'll leave it. Even if they like it, they'll go over it just to say, hey, look.
Look how good that was, and I fucked it up. Go
yeah, I fucked it up. I mean, that's the game. You know, hey, look what I did. I fucked it up, and it made it into the Times. You know, this person, little, you call them a throwaway, the little bubble letters, and they went and threw this up on somebody's art when it's not even completed, and it made press. And people were like, oh, you know, it's terrible. You don't even let the person finish, and that's the game. It's New York City.
Deal with it.
You're putting it on the wall. That's it. Deal with it. You know. Not everybody wants to see what this other person's doing either. You know?
That's a good point.
You know? So it is what it is. It's all open game, and I think that's the beauty of it. And that's the fun of it as well. I had one time I was doing a piece, and I started in you know, like maybe 1 a.m. I didn't finish till 7:30 the next morning. I mean, it's the same day, right?
Yeah.
Started 1 a.m. Right. So just when I'm finishing, it's 7:30 in the morning. This guy is in a business suit and he's going to work and he's passing by. And he's like, you fucking did this? And I'm like, yeah, you know. And he's like, that sucks. You know, this is disgusting. You know. And I was like, well, where do you live? So I can go do it on your house. No, but I mean, it's just that not everybody's gonna. My point is that not everybody's gonna like it. I mean, and a couple of minutes later, somebody else passes by and they say, "Yeah, that's awesome. I've been sick of looking at that wall."
Agreed.
So it's, you know, it's to each his own, you know. But the thing is, yeah, if there's one person who doesn't like it, I can't expect that thing to live. You know, it's not going to be there.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about what you're up to now and things like that. What currently, what's going on?
Well, I'm doing Streets of Saying Things, and I've been in Hong Kong, and I've just been designing, doing apparel, designing clothing for big brands and so on and so forth. But most of my time right now I'm spending painting in Hong Kong now. It's really a up and coming place for the graffiti and street art here. So I've been actually doing a lot of painting and having a lot of fun out here. And got a couple of things in the works, done a couple of performances, different things. You know, it's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, where can people find you? Plug the shit out of yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely streetsofsayingthings.com, saster.net, SASTER.net. It's just a shorter way of getting to the same site. And then, you know, you can always hit me up on Facebook. I'm Stern Rockwell. You know, I'm setting up a site right now for all my personal work. I just started really this year focusing. Like I said, I just kind of realized this a couple months ago that I've been doing what I love. And so right now I'm gonna, like, for the next year, I'll be focusing more on my own talent and
good.
And you know, and promoting myself this year. So
good.
I'll be setting up a site pretty soon. So I don't have an URL to give right now, but I will soon.
Okay.
Your final word to the world.
Your word to the world.
All right. So I would have to say, you know, just live your dreams. Chase. Don't let anybody ever tell you what to do, what not to do. Just do whatever it is that's in your heart and whatever you dream. Live every day like it's your last one. And you know, whatever's in your heart desire, study it. If you get bored, move on. Study something else. You're never too old to learn. And you know, just fight the power.
Absolutely. Dude, thank you so much for doing this interview, man. This is fucking awesome, man. Dude, thank you so much for doing this interview, man. This has been informative and awesome.
You're welcome.
And we really can't wait to air this on Tuesday. We have our show on Tuesday is a circus, and this is gonna fit beautifully into that circus. So thank you so much for doing this.
Like drunken circus.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and it's great sharing.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right.
Fake hang up. Oh, can we keep me screaming that in there?
Yeah, I just did.
Great.
This asparagus is surprisingly fresh.